I'm Nathan Delkamp with Warren Doors and Access Control. Welcome back to Door Talk.
All right, well, we're going to start then with just the basic hinges. This is what we refer to as a ball bearing hinge. You can easily identify it because of the two bearings that are in here. Ball bearing. You should never, ever allow anyone to supply you a plain bearing hinge. Plain bearing hinges wear down. And how many times have you gone to a job and the door is squeaking? It's just the hinge. It's metal on metal. So you should never, ever use a plain bearing hinge anymore.
Is this a standard or medium?
This is standard weight hinge. Yes. And that's how you tell is by the thickness. All standard weight hinges will be 0.134 thickness. You're very, very fortunate that you chose to get into the field that does hollow metal and wood doors, because we actually follow ANSI standards. Do you know what ANSI standards are? In the hollow metal, hardware, wood doors, or not wood doors, but hardware, hollow metal, we follow ANSI standards. So the exact same screw size for this hinge is going to be the same for the next hinge, for the next hinge, for the next hinge. Unfortunately, the aluminum industry does not follow ANSI standards. So there is no telling what you may have out there. Heavyweight hinge.
And also a way to tell too is your standard weight hinges, ball bearing hinges only have 2 ball bearings. Your heavyweight I think 4 or 5.
4, correct. And you can see the thickness. Like I said, this is 0.134. That'll be 0.180. And then there's another hinge. It's an extra heavy duty, and it's 0.190. It's even thicker than that one.
So for like 300, 400 pounds, which ones should we be using?
I will get to that.
Okay.
I'll get to that because myself, any door now that's over 3 foot or in a high abuse area, I put it on a continuous hinge because we're supporting that door all the way down rather than in 3 or 4 spots. Have you ever gone to a job and you've seen standard 7 foot tall door maybe 3'8", 4'0" wide, but it's got 4 hinges on it? That's not standard for anybody. That was an architect trying to compensate for the weight of the door. However, unless you locate that 4th hinge right near the top, it does nothing. Your top hinge carries all the weight. Your bottom hinge carries very little. The middle hinge carries none. It's there for decoration. So if they do add a 4th hinge, you want to make sure they get it close to that top because that's where all your weight of the door is.
And also that hinge you have is NRP also, that heavyweight that you have is so Dana, you go ahead and
It's a non-removable pin. There'll be a set screw in one of them if you open it up. Yes. You tighten that up and it keeps you from taking a screwdriver or a punch and driving the hinge pin out. I myself have tried and I've never been fortunate enough to get a door out with all the pins removed. They say, well, you know, you can break in, but I spent an hour and still couldn't get the door open. But it's another option they put in there. They'll put security studs in them. Sometimes if you're working in the military base, I'm sure you've seen where it's got a little point out here and then a hole on this side of the hinge. That's a security hinge. That's just another way to make sure if they get that pin out, they're not lifting that because everything is interlocking in there.
and now the main reason we're going to see the NRPs is for exterior doors most of the time, because your hinge is like, if I turn reverse, right in reverse, your hinge is going to be facing on the outside of the building.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so, you know, if you have a door that's
Right.
on the inside,
Like here, you know, with this door swinging out, your hinges are exposed here.
I thought that was a security violation.
That's why I use NRP.
Oh, okay, all right. So that compensates for it. Okay.
I mean, well, here's the deal. You got somebody with a grinder that wants to get in the building.
There you go.
You're gonna get them. They're gonna get in.
And it's a whole lot easier to cut the lock bolt than it is to cut off the hinge.
Yeah.
And it's very critical that you know finishes with hinges, because that's what the base metal is made out of. For example, you have a hinge. It looks like this. It's silver. Well, is it 626 or is it 652? They're both the same color. 652 is steel. My phone will stick to it. Fire doors, you have to use a steel-based hinge. So that's why we see the 652. A 626 finish is the same color as this, except its base material is brass or bronze, and it will not meet fire rating. Your brass or bronze hinge is better application for your exterior doors, if they get that picky into it. You know, you would want a 626 finish as long as your door is not fire rated, because that'll give you the brass or bronze base rather than a steel based. And again, if you have any question, we don't have any 626 here, do we?
Oh, I might grab one.
But you'll see the magnet won't stick to it. Even though they look identical, the magnet won't stick to them.
630. No, I just got 630.
Okay. Electric hinge.
But I mean, they're probably they're probably okay.
I
with
thought we
that.
had one.
We might have, but
And you know what the electric hinge then? Basically, it's your standard weight hinge, you know, with the wires on it.
and if you're asking how in the world did they do that, it's very complicated.
Yes, and the wires have
Yeah.
to wrap around the pin inside. You can't take this hinge apart.
I wish they used heavier gauge wire because.
Well, the reason they don't is because it has to go around
Sure.
the pin.
Which is why we use the
The other
EPTs.
type you can get a heavier.
I
gauge.
myself no longer specify electric hinges. I'm not doing my customers a favor, because first of all, you've got to find somebody that stocks an electric hinge. You know, you've got 2 wires, 4, 6, 8, 10. So we stock them with either 8 or 10, because I believe many access control companies will tie 4 wires together to make one thing work. You know, because they're very thin.
That does
When
tie
you-
into your electric strike,
Your electric strike. No, this will not tie into your electric strike. This powers your electric lock set. Right, your electric locks, crash bars. I myself specify this,
Yeah, 'cause you can pull that one out.
which is a power transfer. You get bad wires in that, you pull these wires out, you redo them. Now this is somebody else's. They're using a thinner wire. Von Duprin uses a thicker wire. But again, you just pull these wires out, put new wires in, and you're back in business. So whenever we can, or even you'll notice on some of the continuous hinges now, they're coming with access panels. Did we bring any of those?
Who was it that had the continuous hinge that had the wires going through it? I had to buy the replacement for. It was a real thin wire going through it, cabling. They may not be here, I guess.
Well, yeah, we've got a
Yeah.
sample down there. But it's actually now kind of replacing the power transfers.
You also have, I mean, the hinges Dana had showed you, they make other types, not stuff that y'all are probably really going to use, but they have swing clear hinges that